The studio is founder of Envision Capital. Nilesh, good morning.
Good morning.
It's always good to see you on a budget morning, and this is a Sunday morning, so thank you for that as well. What's your sense, Nilesh? And I think let's just start with the one big elephant in the room, which is equity taxation. क्या हो सकता है आपके हिसाब से और realistically? I mean, do you have any belief that something will happen?
क्या हो सकता है वो पता नहीं, but क्या होना चाहिए is more the thing that I think over the years we've introduced taxes on long-term capital gains, on dividends, on buybacks. There's also the STT which exists. I think something has to be done about this. We ought to either rationalize this or we need to basically remove it or eliminate it. Because we need capital, undoubtedly. And if we need capital, we need to attract capital. And I think for that, we have to make it more efficient for investors to participate in India's long-term growth story.
This is a really top-down macro view, but specifically, what is something?
So for example, I'm just saying is if you want to encourage long-term, let's assume you don't want speculators, traders, all of that. People have gone on to saying buying and selling shares doesn't create economies, rightly so. But investment does create an economy. So probably introduce a category saying is that up to 1 year is 20%, 1 to 3 years make it 12.5, above 3 years make it 0. So introduce that category, redefine what long-term is. Instead of 1 year, take it to 3 years and make that investments 3 years plus, eliminate
So under 1, over 1 remains, which is the intermediate.
Which is 12.5, so there's no going back. Just that 12.5 is basically you do it up to 3 years, above 3 years, remove it.
And if that were to happen, since you mentioned that specifically, what is the impact?
No, so I think there are two areas. One is, I think, domestic investors, for them who have found it difficult to kind of really have appreciation over the last year and a half, will be encouraged to basically stay on and maybe at some point of time increase allocations. That's one. Two is foreign investors who have been on a selling spree almost now for 5 years. It's not just a 1 year phenomena, but the sum total of 5 years is not encouraging. That's for a variety of reasons. We are not part of the AI trade, our valuations are relatively expensive. But the third area is that we are probably one of those few markets around the world which has a tax on foreigners. So maybe that's one. So if you basically introduce this category, I think it will at least induce them to kind of reduce their selling or at some point of time come in a big way. I think if you look at foreign investors, their positioning on India is a massive underweight, okay? And there is huge room for them to allocate. I think it's just that you need to kind of give some carrot, some benefit, some inducement, which basically removes them from that inertia and starts allocating to India. So it's a combination, multifold impact which it can have.
No, that's a very big ask from the foreigners, especially sovereign wealth funds, who say we don't even have a tax set off because we don't pay any tax at all. And sometimes you're making gain on rupee terms because of the depreciation, but a loss in dollar terms, and still we have to pay a withholding capital gains tax.
And that tax is on the rupee gains.
Yes.
So, and not the dollar.
So there is, there are a lot of complaints that have gone, but we have to see whether the finance minister is convinced. By the way, I just wanted to tell you that we saw the pictures of Nirmala Sitharaman, all of them trooping in to meet the president. The Indian constitution says the president causes the budget to be laid on parliament. So you would have the meeting with the president first because she lays the budget on the table and then it is read by the finance minister. We also saw Minister of State for Finance, Pankaj Chaudhary. We saw Anuradha Thakur some time back, the DEA secretary, and then of course the others, the revenue secretary and the expenditure secretary. Okay, Nilesh, coming down to brass tacks. Which sectors you think, she would encourage? I don't know how much you read of the survey. Any hints, any clues?
So clearly, what the survey clearly points to is basically manufacturing. Manufacturing is the need of the hour. That's our biggest hedge against maybe potential job losses in an AI-driven, AI-oriented world. There's lots which has already been done for services. It has to be manufacturing and trade. Which basically is the need of the hour, and whatever needs to be done for manufacturing and trade. I think the whole cut in GST rates, the free trade agreements, the positioning on customs duties, all of that essentially has been a great start. But probably you need to think beyond PLIs. We've got the production-linked incentives. Last year's budget had incentives for apprentice kind of a program. But maybe now you need to kind of have it more in terms of formal employment. So maybe convert the PLI to an ELI, which is an employment-linked incentive. And I think position yourself for the world market. I mean, I think the survey talks about entrepreneurial state.
Yes.
And entrepreneurs think in terms of TAM.
Yeah.
And when you're basically manufacturing for India, your TAM is relevant for 1 billion people. When you're looking essentially as manufacturing for the world, your TAM goes up 4x, 5x, 6x, because you're catering to a market which potentially is of 5 to 6 billion people.
If I may persist, name some sectors.
No, I still believe it's going to be areas around defense, around electronics, around semiconductors. These are essentially, obviously, the relatively, if I may use the word, new age kind of manufacturing opportunities. And then there is the whole conventional pack like textiles, jewelry, etc., which will benefit through the free trade agreements. And then, of course, a lot to do. We talk about ease of doing business. I think we should change that to ease of doing manufacturing. Yeah. I think once we start to do that, I think it'll be a paradigm shift.
All right. And as we heard our Prime Minister say, reform, perform and transform. Hopefully, we'll see some measures in that direction. But let's welcome our other guest as well on